gentlemen, to It Came From DC Comics here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a movie from 2009. That movie is Green Lantern First Flight. Now, I should state, going into this, that I'm a big fan of Green, Lantern. I have been for many, many years. And I have liked almost every aspect of the character, minus a couple of questionable things that have happened in the comics. But oh well. I know that this movie is going to be retelling the origin of the first Green Lantern. Well, technically the second Green Lantern, but I'm not going to go into all the nerdy details behind that. Which is honestly an origin that has been told numerous times and was even made into a movie, and the quality of that movie varies from person to person. And I'm not talking about this one. The live action film also covered the Hal Jordan origin. Anyway, I have no idea if this thing is going to be any, good. I'm certainly hoping for it, especially since every other DC animated film I've seen has been at least watchable. So I'm hoping for this thing to be good. I have no earthly clue, though, and the only way I'm going to find out is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Green Lantern First Flight. Okay, guys, alright, I'm gonna say this, guys. This, opening fucking, credit, sequence, it looks really cool, but I just saw a problem. They just showed three names from the cast. At least I'm going to assume it was the cast. I could not read a single one because the color was so fucking saturated. The green was so oversaturated, I couldn't read the names. I totally understand, guys, that is a minor fucking quibble and almost nobody actually reads the opening credits in movies. But goddamn it, it looked really, really poor. And what's really sick about it is that you can read, well, that one's kind of tough to read also, but you can read almost all of the other credits without any problem, except for these three names that are so washed out and oversaturated you couldn't read them at all. My God, guys, I really cannot believe that I'm kind of raging over credits. But that looked incredibly, it looked incredibly, amateurish and poor, man. Well, guys, okay, guys, well, Sinestro's fucking awesome. After honestly seeing, guys, everything that has happened in the past few minutes, Sinestro is fucking badass, and I'm waiting for the moment in this film when they finally make him the villain. I think it's going to turn out incredibly well. Okay, that was rather unfucking pleasant to see. I just saw an alien get sucked through a tiny hole in the hull of a ship. That was, even though it was without blood or gore, it was still nasty and kind of fucking sick. Alright, guys, I have kind of a stupid, question. Way early on in the film, it was stated straight up that all power gained from the green element is powerless against any power from the yellow element. And that is exactly where Sinestro is getting all of his power, and everybody fucking knows it. Why the hell, then, are all of them trying to use the power from their rings to stop them when they fucking know full well it's not going to do a bit of fucking good? Guys, this movie so far has been really good, but this one thing is kind of bothering me. You would almost think that the Corps would know to try something a little bit different. Well, guys, that was Green Lantern First Flight. Let me shut that off. Okay. Wow. I would like to say right now, guys, that, man, where to even start? I should probably warn people that, this movie, you could probably show it to kids, because I know people always wonder, you know, are these films family, you know, friendly? You do have to be warned, though, that this thing is rated PG-13. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that out of all of the DC animated films, this thing's got the highest body count out of all of them. Granted, almost all of them are off-screen kills, but still, it's a little bit sick when you think about it. For instance, and I'm going to spoil a scene here towards you know, the end. Okay, so, alright, so Sinestro's able to knock out the power battery on Oa, which thus then renders all of the Lantern's rings powerless. As everybody is on Earth, it begins to rain rings. Why? Because of all the Lanterns who were flying out in space and had thus then lost their shield and then died in the vacuum of space. And their rings had to fucking come back to Oa. So it's literally raining hundreds of green Lantern rings. That, guys, is probably the darkest goddamn thing I've seen in any of these DC films. And it was awesome. Plus also, while I'm talking about the darker moments, we also have a moment when a character gets sucked through a small hole in the hull of a hull of a ship. The whole thing is made even more gruesome by the fact that there's no blood and there is no gore. It somehow makes the whole thing even nastier. Now, I just have to warn that we have those sorts of things in this movie. Which may happen to stop parents from showing it to their kids, and that's totally up to the parents. I just sort of wanted to warn that up front because, well, I know parents love to show these sorts of movies to their kids not knowing what might be here. So, what about, though, the film itself, minus the, really dark moments in that one really gruesome scene? Well, writing here, guys, is fantastic. One thing I love about all of these DC films, and this thing here is a really sound example, is pacing. You see, guys, some of you might happen to remember a couple of years ago there was a live-action Green Lantern movie, and a lot of people hated it. I honestly thought it was watchable. It wasn't great. It was far from perfect, but it was still at least decent. One issue I kind of had with it though was pacing. Because that movie clocks in at about 2 hours long, and Hal Jordan does not become Green Lantern. He doesn't have the ring. He doesn't get the powers. He doesn't go to Oa until like a half an hour in. This thing here, in this film, he gets the ring and becomes Green Lantern before the opening credits hit. So you actually get to see his full, origin without having to, sit there and putz around with everything going on Earth, which for this film it makes sense because we never see Earth after about 6 minutes in. The whole thing takes place in space. So it makes total sense to just tell all of that really fast and just give us all of the necessary details and then rock it into the story itself. That is one thing I love about all of these DC films, guys, is that the pacing is perfect like that. You do not have to sit there and whinge on about characters who ultimately are going to mean nothing. And even though it was awesome in that opening sequence to have a little bit of banter between Hal and Carol Ferris, it really doesn't matter. And it ultimately wouldn't have played up much. It's similar, honestly, to how Carol ultimately was kind of pointless in the fucking, live-action movie, except to, show that, to basically show that to show that she and Hal are a thing, and to kind of set up a possibility for her to come into a sequel as Star fucking Sapphire. But of course we aren't going to get a sequel to that. But see, that though, guys, is sort of the thing. Pacing in that movie was kind of questionable because major studios always have to pretend that the viewers are dipshits and have to basically slowly walk them through the origins of these characters in these animated films. At least actually think that the viewer is a little bit smarter and actually sort of gets past all of the origin shit and rockets right into story. So guys, pacing-wise, this thing here is awesome. Story-wise, this thing here is fantastic because, once more, just actually to kind of sort of compare it to the live-action Lantern film, our villain here is better. Because, guys, if I had to pick between Parallax, who was in the live-action film, and Green Lantern's main nemesis, Sinestro, who the fuck do you think I'm going to pick? Sinestro is obviously the better pick, and they were able to write a far better story using him instead of using Parallax. I promise, guys, I'm going to stop talking about the live-action movie, because really, I want to focus on this thing more. But still, guys, our story here is really, really strong. And it not only, guys, is the origin of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern, but it also is Sinestro's origin, or correction, actually, it is the origin of his fucking yellow, ring, which is awesome. I love that. And just basically as a final, and just sort of as a final, comparison between this thing and the live-action film. Here, it took them 40 minutes for him to get the ring. In the fucking live-action movie, it was a post-credit sequence, alright? This thing has better pacing through and through. It also has a better story. It has far, far better, writing. And the story here is really good, especially if you don't know a lot about Green, Lantern. This thing here tells you everything that you need to know, and it tells it very, very well. Writing here is really, really strong. Acting. The acting here also is really good. I do have one small gripe though, and that is Michael Madsen, who was cast as Kilowog. In a very small number of lines, it really kind of sounded like Madsen was kind of sort of like phoning it in. However, though, beyond that, beyond just a couple of really questionable line reads from Madsen, everything else here is great. And the rest of our cast turn in a fantastic showing. And that guy's really, and that really helps to complement our awesome story, is when we have acting that is really, really sound and casting that was perfect. Guys, I don't know why, but there's something about Kurtwood Smith playing as fucking Kanjar Rowe that just sounds so perfect to me. I do not think I could ever imagine anybody else voicing Kanjar Rowe now, because that was how good Kurt, and mind you guys, and he honestly is only in it for the first half of the movie. He turned in a fantastic showing, and the whole cast was like this. This movie, guys, was just fantastically cast. The acting here is really good. Once more, minus those couple of lines from Michael fucking Madsen that seemed a little bit iffy. Animation here is really sound. Art style here is beautiful. Color. I do need to comment on the color, though, because this, guys, really sort of goes back to my very first gripe as I was watching the movie, and that is with the opening credits. The opening credits looked really good, except it was incredibly, incredibly saturated. It was way too saturated, and so we had these greens that were just popping out, and they made the credits a little bit difficult to read. And if you're gonna make your credits difficult to fucking read, why bother putting credits in? And the one that still stands out is a list of 3 cast members whose names were so freaking washed out and bled through with all of the green that was coming through. I still don't know what 3 actors were listed there. I could not tell you. I seriously, guys, couldn't even fucking guess, because it was that bad. And mind you, guys, and almost every other credit is at least fairly decent to read. This one, though, I feel really sorry for whoever's names were on that one title, you know, card, because we will never know what the fuck it said, because it was so poorly, you know, like, laid out, and it was just so poorly lit and saturated and everything else. It looked really bad, and it was totally, guys, just a terrible, terrible sign going in, and I feared it was going to be a problem for the whole film, and we were going to have just a poor, like, color, you know, like, setup. But no, guys, everything else here is really solid in terms of color. It's just kind of a shame that 3 actors got fucked over when their fucking title card in the opening credit sequence was jacked up. Sound mix here is good, and our music here is good. Everything here. Oh, and CG. This this film does have CG, as seems to be the way with a whole lot of these DC films, except where in all of the others it's really noticeable. Here, guys, it actually kind of works, and I really don't know. I don't know if it's because it just looks better when you are rendering spaceships in CG instead of cars and jets and helicopters and shit. I don't totally know. I just know that here it looked really sound, and I honestly have to give them marks for that. Ultimately, guys, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Green, you know, Lantern First Flight? Oh, hell yes, I totally can. This thing is an amazing movie, which has honestly just a couple of minor just has a couple of minor hitches that honestly, guys, are not going to kill it for anybody. And once more, I do have to warn parents, if you think this movie is for, you know, your kids, you do have to remember that it is it is rated PG-13 for a, you know, reason. And if you honestly don't think that your kid can handle somebody getting sucked out of a hole in a spaceship hub, and hundreds and hundreds of off-screen deaths happening at once, if you seriously think that your kids are not going to be able to handle that, then you might, you know, want to wait a, you know, couple of years. Language here is also just a tad, you know, strong if you think that this is for your kids. However, though, for everybody else, by all means, check it out. This thing here was amazing. Now, Green Lantern First Flight came off the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in was Robert, and Robert wants me to plug his Amazon profile. Please, guys, by all means, swing over there and check out everything that he has. He actually has he actually has written tons and tons of reviews on Amazon. Swing over there and read up on them. Robert, I thank you. I was really curious about this one, partially because it's based on one of my favorite DC heroes, and it was amazing, and I probably wouldn't have known if you hadn't sent it in, and for that, dude, you are awesome. Anyway, guys, once more, similar honestly to all of these others, I actually have been looking at the bonus features. This thing not only has 5 episodes of Justice League, all of which are heavily focused on Green Lantern. It also has the Green Lantern episode of Duck Dodgers on here. I am going to go and watch those because damn it, all of that is sounding really awesome right now. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.